The night sky above Earth had always been beautiful, but on that particular evening it looked different. The stars seemed to shimmer with a strange rhythm, as if someone out there was blinking back at humanity. In a small observatory in Chile, Dr. Maria Alvarez noticed the change first. She leaned closer to her monitor, eyes wide with disbelief. The telescope data wasn't random. It was a pattern. Is this communication? She whispered to herself. Within hours, scientists across the world confirmed it. A repeating signal was coming from deep space, perfectly structured and full of mathematical sequences. It wasn't nature, it was intelligence. The world held its breath. After centuries of searching, humanity had finally found proof. They were not alone. The United Nations called for an emergency global broadcast. Every channel, every device, every radio was tuned in as the Secretary General spoke. The signal we have received appears to come from a civilization beyond our solar system. We do not yet know their intentions, but we will respond, with peace and curiosity. However, before Earth could send a reply, the aliens made the next move. 3 days later, a massive shadow appeared in orbit. A fleet of colossal ships, each longer than the Great Wall of China, surrounded Earth like an iron crown. People flooded the streets looking up at the sky as glowing silver crafts blocked the sun. The invasion, if it could be called that, was silent. No weapons, no explosions, just presence. Then a voice echoed through every speaker, every screen, every phone. It was deep and formal, translated perfectly into every language. Attention, species of Sol 3. We are the representatives of the Galactic Empire of Orion. Your planet and resources are now under Imperial administration. Comply peacefully, and your civilization will be preserved as a cultural specimen. The world went silent. In a small apartment in Tokyo, a college student named Kenji looked at his roommate and burst out laughing. Did he just call us a specimen? Across the world, similar reactions spread: confusion, fear, and laughter. At NASA headquarters, scientists were frozen in disbelief. The president of the United Earth Council, an emergency alliance formed that very day, stood before the cameras, unsure whether to panic or negotiate. But before she could speak, another strange thing happened. Every online platform exploded with jokes. Memes of giant alien ships asking for Earth's rent flooded the internet. Someone posted, "They came for our planet, but wait till they meet our lawyers." Another, "Galactic Empire? Bro, we barely manage traffic lights." Within hours, the supposed invasion turned into a global comedy event. The Orion High Commander, Lord Zerath, was utterly confused. He stood in the command chamber of his flagship, watching thousands of human transmissions on the holographic display. They were not screaming, not surrendering, they were laughing. He turned to his translator officer, a tall insectoid being named Khaled. Are these signals correct? Their emotional response pattern makes no sense. Khaled adjusted the translator sphere nervously. Yes, High Commander. They appear to be mocking us. Mocking the Galactic Empire. Zerath's voice echoed with disbelief. No species has ever dared to laugh at the Empire. On Earth, humanity's response continued to baffle them. Scientists had tried to communicate peacefully, but every broadcast from the aliens was met with memes, jokes, and laughter. Late-night talk shows turned the invasion into entertainment. One host joked, "Maybe they came because our Wi-Fi signals reached them and they got curious who kept streaming cat videos." The laughter wasn't just humor, it was unity. For the first time in human history, nations forgot their borders. People talked, shared, and laughed together. Fear turned into courage. In New York, a historian named Dr. Elena Rossi gave a live interview. Laughter has always been humanity's defense mechanism. When faced with fear, we laugh. When faced with the unknown, we make jokes. It's not disrespect, it's survival. The aliens, however, didn't understand that. Inside the Imperial flagship, Lord Zerath called for a meeting of his fleet council. This species is primitive, yet they refuse to show fear. Their reaction disrupts the standard assimilation protocol. A younger officer, Commander Saren, suggested, "Perhaps we should demonstrate power to remind them of their place." Zerath hesitated. "No. If they are capable of humor under threat, they may be unpredictable. We must study them further." Back on Earth, a strange new broadcast appeared on the sky screens the aliens had deployed. The alien leader spoke again, his tone confused but curious. "Humans of Earth, your laughter is unexpected. Do you not comprehend the seriousness of your situation? In response, millions of people sent out a single message. We do, but we also know how to laugh at it. It became the most shared phrase in human history. Meanwhile, Maria Alvarez and her team at the observatory began decoding fragments of the alien transmission signals. What they found was astonishing. The Orient Empire had encountered hundreds of species before humanity. Every one of them surrendered immediately, terrified of their power. None had ever laughed. The humans, in their strange way, were teaching the Empire something new: defiance through joy. In a cafe in Paris, two artists painted a mural of a human shaking hands with an alien, both laughing. In Mumbai, children waved at the ships above, making funny faces. In Los Angeles, comedians started a Joke for the Galaxy challenge, sending jokes into space. Even military leaders noticed something important: the aliens hadn't attacked. They seemed to be waiting, watching, trying to understand. A week passed. Earth carried on almost normally. The economy trembled, but human creativity surged. People invented alien-inspired fashion, songs, and cartoons. Humanity's laughter became a signal of strength. Inside the Imperial Council Hall, the alien commanders debated again. "High Commander, this behavior spreads like contagion," Kellett reported. "Even some of our lower officers have begun to mimic human laughter out of curiosity. It disrupts discipline." Zirath frowned deeply. "A sound of amusement can break our order. Ridiculous, and yet, perhaps dangerous." He looked at the holographic globe of Earth. "These humans, small, fragile, and chaotic, possess something none of our conquests had: a spirit we cannot measure." For the first time in his career, Lord Zirath felt uncertain. That night, as Earth's cities glowed under alien shadows, a new message appeared in the skies. Written in bright blue letters formed by hundreds of drones, it read, "Dear Galactic Empire, welcome to Earth. We recommend sunscreen and a sense of humor." The entire planet laughed again. Lord Zirath stared at the display, silent. Then, against all reason, a small smile touched his lips. Perhaps, he thought, these humans were not as primitive as they appeared. And somewhere deep in space, the great Galactic Empire, known for its power and order, faced something it had never known before: the sound of laughter echoing across the stars. The great fleet of the Galactic Empire still floated above Earth like a crown of metal and light. Weeks had passed since their arrival, but the planet below continued to act in a way that confused the alien commanders. There was no chaos, no rebellion, and no surrender. Instead, humans laughed, created jokes, and carried on with their lives as if a galactic empire wasn't hovering in the sky. Inside the Imperial flagship Solarius, High Commander Lord Zirath sat in his chair, deep in thought. Around him, glowing screens displayed streams of human data: images, videos, messages, all full of laughter. "Report," Zirath said. His communication officer, a calm and precise being named Kellett, stepped forward. "We have studied over 10 million human transmissions, High Commander. Their laughter appears in every form: spoken, written, and even visual. They share it as communication, entertainment, and coping." "Coping?" Zirath repeated the word carefully. "Yes," Kellett continued. "When faced with fear or challenge, humans often use laughter instead of panic. It seems to give them strength." The council room fell silent. None of the alien officers could understand how amusement could replace fear. The Galactic Empire ruled through power, discipline, and obedience. Laughter had no place in their world. Zirath leaned back. "This species is strange. They should be afraid, yet they are united. No resistance, no submission, just jokes." At that very moment, another message from Earth arrived. The humans had sent a video directly to the Empire. It showed a group of scientists, musicians, and comedians sitting together. One of them, a young man wearing a bright yellow jacket, looked into the camera and said, "Dear Galactic Empire, we understand you are confused. So are we, but maybe you'll understand us better if we share something universal." Then they played music, a cheerful tune full of laughter and rhythm. People danced, clapped, and smiled. The message ended with, "We laugh not because we are not afraid. We laugh because we choose hope." Zirath watched the video in silence. His officers looked uncomfortable. To them, it felt like mockery. But something about the humans' faces, their warmth, their lightness, made even the High Commander hesitate to call it disrespect. "Strange creatures," he muttered. They make weakness look like strength. Kellett glanced at him. Perhaps, High Commander, laughter is their strength. Xerath said nothing, but the thought stayed in his mind. Meanwhile on Earth, the situation had become something out of a science fiction comedy show. Every city now had Welcome Aliens banners. Cafes served drinks named Galactic Latte and Alien Espresso. Even schools began holding intergalactic friendship days where children made drawings of smiling aliens. Dr. Maria Alvarez, who had first detected the alien signal, found herself leading a new department called the Earth-Orion Communication Initiative. The goal was to teach the aliens about human culture, especially humor. Her team worked day and night translating jokes into alien language, a task far harder than anyone expected. They don't understand sarcasm, her assistant Leo complained one morning. Every time we say something ironic, they take it seriously. Maria smiled. That's okay. Humor takes time. Even on Earth, people don't all laugh at the same thing. Still, progress was slow. The Orions couldn't understand why humans made jokes about serious matters. In their culture, laughter was considered a distraction from duty. To them, seriousness was honor. Back aboard the Solarius, Lord Xerath made a surprising decision. Prepare a delegation, he ordered. We will send a team to Earth to observe these humans directly. The Council gasped. No Empire commander had ever stepped foot on a newly contacted world before declaring its submission. Xerath ignored their protests. If laughter is their weapon, I want to see it myself. A few days later, a sleek silver shuttle descended through the clouds, landing near the United Earth Council headquarters in Geneva. People gathered, curious and excited. Cameras broadcast the landing live to billions of screens around the world. The shuttle door opened and Lord Xerath stepped out. His tall silver-armored form gleamed under the sunlight. Behind him walked Kellett and 2 guards. Their faces were unreadable, but they looked cautious. The human representatives greeted them politely. Dr. Maria Alvarez stood among them, nervous but determined. Welcome to Earth, High Commander, she said. We are honored by your visit. Xerath studied her carefully. Your planet reacts strangely to Imperial contact, Doctor. Your people laugh, Maria smiled. Yes, we do. Why? She paused, thinking of the best way to explain. Because laughter is how we survive fear. When something feels too big to control, we make it smaller by laughing at it. It helps us stay strong. The High Commander tilted his head. So laughter is armor? In a way, yes, Maria said. Not armor made of metal, but of spirit. Kellett noted the phrase quickly on his translation pad. The delegation was given a tour of the Earth Council building. Everywhere they went, humans smiled and joked softly, not out of mockery but friendliness. Children waved at them through windows. One even offered a drawing of a smiling alien holding hands with a human. Xerath accepted it silently, unsure what to feel. Later, during a press conference, a journalist asked, High Commander, what do you think of Earth so far? Xerath's reply shocked everyone. It is noisy, illogical, and yet strangely warm. The audience laughed kindly. Even Xerath's translator seemed uncertain whether to frown or join in. That night, in the guest quarters prepared for them, Kellett approached Xerath. High Commander, forgive me, but today when the humans laughed, I felt something. It wasn't anger, it was light. Xerath turned toward the window where the night sky sparkled over the city. Careful, Kellett. Their ways are contagious. But even as he said it, Xerath's face softened slightly. The sound of human laughter outside the window echoed faintly. It was unlike any sound in the galaxy. Unafraid, alive. The next day, Maria invited the alien delegation to attend a cultural event called the Human Expression Festival. There were dances, music, and comedy performances. Xerath agreed, curious to observe how laughter functioned in public. When the comedians took the stage, they performed a set of clean, simple jokes about life, space, and even the alien ships in the sky. One said, I hope the Galactic Empire doesn't charge parking fees for those giant ships. We're already paying enough rent on Earth. The crowd erupted in laughter. Even Xerath's translator looked confused, but smiled slightly. To everyone's surprise, Xerath himself gave a low, rumbling sound, a strange mix between a growl and a laugh. The audience gasped, then cheered. Maria looked at him in amazement. Did you just laugh, High Commander? I believe so, he said slowly. It felt strange, but not unpleasant. The festival continued with music and joy. For the first time in recorded galactic history, Humans and aliens celebrated together. Cameras from both Earth and the Empire recorded the moment. Across the galaxy, billions watched in disbelief as their mighty High Commander stood among humans, listening to laughter. When the event ended, Xerath spoke to Maria privately. "Doctor, your people's laughter. It disarms conflict. No weapon could do that," Maria nodded. "It's what makes us human." As the alien shuttle rose back into the night sky, Xerath looked down at the glowing Earth. "They are not a species to conquer," he said quietly. "They are a mystery to learn from." Kalat looked at him in surprise. "High Commander, does this mean—" "Peace? For now," Xerath replied, "until I understand why their laughter still echoes in my mind." Back on Earth, humans celebrated the visit as a victory of friendship. The global headline read, "Aliens laugh for the first time in history." But Maria, looking up at the stars that night, wondered what would happen next. Would the Galactic Empire truly understand them, or would the laughter only make them more curious and more cautious? Far away aboard his ship, Lord Xerath sat alone, replaying the sound of human laughter. It was not the noise of rebellion or chaos. It was something deeper, something powerful. He whispered to himself, "Perhaps laughter is the one sound that can shake an empire." The return journey to the Galactic Fleet was silent at first. Lord Xerath sat inside the shuttle, staring out the window as Earth slowly disappeared behind them. His mind was restless. For the first time in his long military career, he had experienced something he couldn't explain. That sound, human laughter, still echoed in his head. It was light, joyful, and yet powerful in a strange way. He had felt it during the festival, spreading warmth through his chest like sunlight breaking through clouds. Kalat noticed his commander's silence. "High Commander," he said softly. "The humans seem to affect us more than expected." Xerath's gaze remained fixed on the stars. "Their ways are strange, Kalat. They face power with amusement. They answer fear with smiles. It makes them unpredictable." Kalat hesitated before speaking again. "Permission to speak freely?" "Granted. When you laughed, sir, it changed something. Even the guards looked different, lighter, as if a heavy weight was lifted." Xerath finally turned his head. "Do you think a sound can lift the weight of an empire?" Kalat didn't answer, but his eyes glowed with quiet curiosity. When they arrived back on the Solarius, the atmosphere was different. Rumors had already spread that the High Commander had laughed on Earth. Many officers refused to believe it. Others whispered about it secretly, unsure what it meant. Xerath entered the command hall and all officers stood at attention. He noticed a strange tension in the room. "Report," he ordered. Commander Saren, his second in command, stepped forward. "High Commander, there have been disturbances." "Explain." "Some lower-ranking soldiers have begun copying human gestures," Saren said carefully. "They make the sound called laughter and share images of Earth's people." "Discipline is weakening," Xerath frowned. "Show me." Saren activated the holo display. Instantly, small recordings appeared, alien officers giggling awkwardly while watching human videos. Some even tried to tell simple Earth jokes. The laughter sounded strange, like metallic echoes, but it was real. Xerath stared at the screen for a long time. "They are learning joy," he said quietly. "Joy?" Saren repeated, confused. "High Commander, this is corruption." "Laughter has no place in the Empire. It breeds weakness, does it?" Xerath asked calmly. "Or does it breed courage?" Saren looked startled. "With respect, sir, our strength is in control, not emotion." Xerath gave a small, unreadable smile. "Then perhaps it is time to test which is stronger." Meanwhile, on Earth, life had turned into something beautiful and bizarre. Humanity and the Orient Empire had entered an unspoken truce. The alien ships remained above, watching but not threatening. Humans continued to send messages, songs, jokes, and even short films to the Empire's network. The internet was now full of videos titled "Jokes for the Galaxy." Children recorded greetings to aliens, teachers sent lessons about human history, and comedians performed simple sketches meant to explain human humor. Dr. Maria Alvarez and her team worked day and night coordinating communication. "We're teaching an empire to laugh," she said one morning with a grin. "Who would have thought that would be our greatest weapon?" Her assistant Leo nodded. "It's not just laughter, it's connection. They're starting to see us as equals, not subjects." But not everyone on Earth trusted the calm. Some governments feared the Empire might change its mind. Military leaders warned, "The aliens are studying us." Laughter or not, they are still powerful. Maria disagreed. "Understanding is not weakness," she said. "Maybe this is the first time the Empire has truly met life instead of just ruling over it." Back aboard the Solarius, the seeds of change were spreading faster than Xerath imagined. In the crew quarters, a group of officers gathered around a screen, watching a human comedian perform a clean comedy show. They didn't understand every joke, but the rhythm and tone fascinated them. When the audience laughed, the aliens tried to mimic it. One officer, a young navigator named Lyra, looked confused after laughing for the first time. "My chest feels lighter," she said. "What is this feeling?" Another officer smiled awkwardly. "It's called happiness, I think." The laughter continued softly, echoing through the halls. When Commander Saren discovered this, he was furious. He stormed into the command chamber and saluted sharply. "Hi, Commander." The infection of laughter grows. It must be stopped before it spreads to the entire fleet. Xerath looked up from his console. "And how do you propose to stop it?" "Discipline. Strict control. Ban all human transmissions. Destroy their cultural data before it poisons our soldiers' minds." The High Commander stood slowly, his tall frame casting a long shadow. "No," he said. "You will not destroy it." Saren's eyes widened. "Sir, we will study it further." The human's laughter is not weakness. It may be the strongest defense we have ever seen. Saren looked shocked. "You're defending them?" "I am learning from them," Xerath said simply. Saren clenched his fists. "The Council will not approve of this." "Then let the Council come," Xerath replied. "Perhaps they too need to laugh." That night, Xerath found himself unable to sleep. He walked through the empty observation deck of the ship. The stars shone silently outside, millions of lights stretching into eternity. He wondered how many of those stars held worlds that had bowed before the Empire without a word. Earth had not bowed. It had smiled. He replayed the festival footage on his wrist display. The sound of laughter, the sight of children waving, Maria's calm voice explaining humor. It stirred something inside him that felt both ancient and new. He remembered his first day as a cadet, trained to obey and never question. The Empire had given him power but taken his joy. Now, after meeting humanity, he realized something. Power without joy was hollow. A week later, a message arrived from the Galactic Council. The message was clear and strict. "High Commander Xerath, return immediately. You are accused of contaminating Imperial order through exposure to inferior culture." The Council feared laughter. Khalid read the message out loud in the command hall. Everyone waited for Xerath's response. He stood tall, his eyes steady. "We will return," he said. But not in shame. In truth. When the fleet began its journey back to the heart of the Empire, tension filled the air. Officers whispered, unsure of what would happen. Some feared punishment. Others, quietly, were grateful. Khalid approached Xerath. "High Commander, what will you tell them?" "The truth," Xerath said. "That we found something greater than conquest." "We found humanity." Khalid nodded slowly. "And if they do not believe you?" Xerath's lips curved into a small, almost human smile. "Then I will make them believe, perhaps," with a little laughter. When the fleet finally arrived at the Imperial capital, the council chamber was filled with tall, elegant figures, leaders of thousands of worlds. The air was heavy with formality. No one smiled. Lord Xerath entered, his silver armor gleaming. He bowed respectfully, then stood before them. "High Commander," the Grand Counselor said coldly, "reports claim that you have adopted the customs of a primitive world. You have allowed disorder to spread among your ranks. Explain yourself." Xerath's voice was calm but strong. "Yes, I have learned from Earth, and what I learned may save the Empire." "Save?" the Counselor repeated in disbelief. "From what?" "From itself," Xerath said. "For centuries we have ruled through fear and silence. But on Earth I saw strength in laughter. They unite through joy, not chains. They stand together not because of command, but because of love." Murmurs filled the hall. The word love was almost foreign to their language. The Counselor's eyes narrowed. "You speak nonsense, do I?" Xerath stepped forward. "Then let me show you." He raised his wrist device and activated the holo display. The room filled with human images. Children laughing, people hugging, music, dance, and humor. The sound echoed through the grand chamber. The council members watched in silence, stunned. The laughter was bright and alive. It seemed to fill the room with light. Even the Grand Counselor blinked in confusion. "What is this feeling?" he whispered. "It is what your empire has forgotten," Zerath said softly. "Joy, freedom, life." The hall was silent for a long time. Then from somewhere at the back a small sound emerged, an uncertain, awkward laugh. Another followed. Then another. Within minutes the impossible happened. The most powerful council in the galaxy began to laugh. Zerath stood still, feeling warmth rise in his chest. Humanity had done what no army could ever do. They had made the Galactic Empire laugh. Back on Earth, Maria received the news with tears in her eyes. The Empire had not attacked. Instead, they had sent a message to every human screen. To the people of Earth, thank you for teaching the stars how to smile. The message was signed by Lord Zerath himself. The laughter that echoed through the Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Empire did not end with that meeting. It spread like light through dark corridors, touching every corner of the Empire's vast dominion. For the first time in thousands of years, the sound of joy replaced the silence of fear. But not everyone welcomed it. Within days, news of the laughter contagion reached the farthest worlds. Some saw it as hope, others as chaos. Old commanders, loyal to the Empire's strict traditions, whispered in secret meetings. "Laughter weakens the chain of command," one general said. "It must be stopped before discipline disappears," another added. But there were also voices of change. Young officers who had visited Earth or seen its broadcasts began to believe in something new, a future where power and kindness could live together. Lord Zerath had returned to his flagship Solarius as a hero to some and a traitor to others. His decision to defend humanity had shaken the Empire's old system. Yet for him, it wasn't rebellion, it was revelation. Standing at the observation deck, he looked out at the endless stars and whispered, "How strange that the smallest voice of laughter can move the largest empire." Khaled joined him carrying reports. "High Commander, messages are flooding in. Entire colonies are sharing laughter recordings. Soldiers are making friendly jokes with civilians. Even children on mining worlds are sending jokes to one another." Zerath smiled faintly. "And the council?" "They are divided," Khaled said. "Half support your idea of change. The rest want to restore the old silence." Zerath nodded. "Then the Empire stands at a crossroad. One side ruled by fear, the other led by laughter." Meanwhile, on Earth, the world was celebrating the impossible victory of peace. Humans had done what no army could achieve. They had turned conquerors into friends. The phrase, "teach the stars to smile," had become a global motto. Dr. Maria Alvarez was invited to speak at the United Earth Council's annual gathering. Standing before millions, she said proudly, "Humanity has always been small compared to the universe. But now for the first time the universe is listening, not to our weapons but to our laughter." The audience stood and applauded. Yet Maria's eyes were full of quiet worry. "If the Empire changes too quickly," she told her assistant Leo later, "some will resist. Power never gives up easily," Leo sighed. "Do you think they'll fight again?" Maria shook her head. "I hope not. But even laughter can be seen as rebellion by those who live in fear." Far away, deep within the Empire's central region, a powerful group called the Silent Order began to rise. They were the keepers of the old ways, strict, emotionless, devoted to control. To them, laughter was chaos. Their leader, Admiral Vorn, spoke before his followers. "This madness must end. The High Commander has infected our people with weakness. The Empire was built on order, not amusement." He slammed his hand on the table. "Prepare the fleet. We will restore discipline. The humans must be silenced, and Zerath must answer for his betrayal." The Silent Order's ships moved quietly, gathering strength in secret. Back aboard Solarius, Zerath sensed the coming storm. Colette entered his quarters one night looking uneasy. "High Commander, we have intercepted coded transmissions from Admiral Vorn's fleet. They are moving toward Earth." Zerath's eyes narrowed. "They would attack the humans?" "Yes, sir. They call it a correction mission." Zerath stood tall, his voice firm. "Prepare the fleet. We will protect Earth." Colette hesitated. "That means defying the Council." Zerath looked out at the stars again. "Then let history decide who was right." Within days, the tension filled the galaxy like electricity. Two forces of the same empire now stood against each other, one ruled by fear, the other inspired by laughter. On Earth, Maria received the warning through a private transmission from Zerath himself. His holographic image appeared in her lab. "Dr. Alvarez," he said, "the silent order is coming. They intend to silence your planet." Maria felt a chill. "Can we stop them?" Zerath nodded slowly. "Yes, but not with weapons. If we fight them in space, the Empire will break apart. We must fight them with the same strength you taught us: unity, creativity, and spirit." Maria thought for a moment. Then her eyes lit up. "Then we'll show them who humans are. Again." She immediately contacted world leaders, engineers, and artists. "Prepare a broadcast," she ordered. "Every screen, every satellite, every frequency. If they come, we'll welcome them with laughter." When Admiral Vorn's fleet finally entered Earth's orbit, the planet was glowing. Billions of lights from cities, screens, and holograms formed a giant smiling face, visible even from space. The entire world laughed, not in fear, but in defiance. On the lead ship of the Silent Order, Vorn growled. "What is this mockery?" His crew was silent, staring at the planet below. The laughter filled their speakers, spreading through every deck. It wasn't aggressive or cruel, it was genuine joy. Then a massive signal activated. A worldwide broadcast began. On every channel, humans were singing, dancing, and laughing together. There were no soldiers, no weapons, only people. Dr. Maria appeared on screen. "Admiral Vorn, this is not mockery. This is who we are. We do not fight hate with hate. We fight it with hope." Her voice was calm and strong. "You call laughter weakness. But tell me, what empire can survive without joy? What world can last without smiles?" For a moment, Vorn said nothing. Then he shouted, "Silence that transmission!" But it was too late. Across his own fleet, officers had already begun watching the broadcast. Some laughed quietly. Others simply smiled. The tension started to fade. One of his own captains turned to him. "Sir, I don't feel anger anymore. I feel peace." Vorn slammed his fist down. "You are soldiers." He stopped. Because for the first time, he heard something impossible. One of his officers laughing softly. The sound spread like a wave. Within minutes, the entire Silent Order fleet was filled with laughter. It started small, nervous, then louder, freer, brighter. The laughter reached even Vorn's command deck. He shouted, "Stop it! Stop laughing." But even he felt it, the weight in his chest slowly lifting. Against his will, his lips trembled, and a small laugh escaped. Then another. Soon, Admiral Vorn, the most feared man in the Empire, was laughing with his crew. Back on Earth, humanity watched the impossible unfold. The fleets that came to threaten them had joined in their laughter. The night sky shimmered with lights from ships signaling peace. Maria smiled through tears. "They understand now," she whispered. Zerath contacted her once more, his expression softer than ever. "You did it again, Doctor. You turned war into laughter." Maria shook her head. "No, High Commander, we did it. Humanity and the Empire went together." Zerath nodded. "Perhaps this is what the stars were waiting for. A reason to laugh again." In the following days, the Galactic Council declared a new decree. Henceforth, laughter shall not be considered weakness, but a mark of wisdom and unity. The decree spread across thousands of worlds. Schools taught children the story of Earth, the planet that made the galaxy smile. Artists painted murals of humans and aliens laughing together. Music filled cities that had been silent for centuries. And Lord Zerath became known not as the conqueror of Earth, but as the smiling commander, the leader who changed history not through power but through understanding. One night, aboard Solarius, Zerath stood again at the window. Watching Earth's blue glow, Kalette joined him quietly. "You look peaceful, High Commander," Kalette said. "For the first time in my life I am," Zerath replied. "Power once meant fear to me. Now I see it differently. Power is the ability to share light, even in darkness." Kalette smiled. "And to laugh when you face the unknown." Zerath nodded. "Yes, because laughter reminds us that we are alive." On Earth, the world continued to celebrate. Children looked up at the stars and waved, knowing that somewhere out there friends were laughing with them. Maria watched the night sky and whispered softly, "The universe finally smiles back." The sound of laughter, once small and human, now echoed across galaxies, binding worlds together like never before. And in that laughter, both humanity and the Empire discovered something greater than conquest. They discovered hope. The galaxy had changed. Once it had been a place of silence and fear. ruled by the unchallenged power of the Galactic Empire. Worlds trembled at the mere mention of the Empire's name, and obedience was the measure of life. But all of that had shifted, thanks to one small planet, Earth, and its most peculiar weapon, laughter. The fleet that had once hovered above Earth now moved with calm purpose, escorting ships of the Silent Order and other Imperial forces. The laughter that had begun with humans had spread like a tide across thousands of worlds. It was no longer a single sound from one planet. It was a symphony filling the cosmos, echoing from one star system to another. On the flagship Solarius, Lord Zerath stood at the observation deck, watching the glowing blue of Earth far below. The planet seemed more alive than ever, a small jewel radiating warmth across the void. For him it was a symbol, not just of human ingenuity, but of the power of hope, unity, and joy. Khaled, his loyal officer, joined him quietly. High Commander, the Empire has accepted the changes. The Grand Council has officially recognized laughter as a universal virtue. Zerath nodded slowly. It took centuries of fear to build this empire, he said. Yet it took only days of laughter to remind it what it truly means to live. Khaled smiled. And the humans? They must be proud. Zerath's eyes glimmered. They should be. They have taught an empire a lesson that no weapon could. They have shown that strength can be gentle, and courage can be joyful. Back on Earth, celebrations continued, but they were different now. It was no longer about defending the planet or surviving an invasion. The planet was united with the galaxy. Humans laughed, danced, sang, and created with a new sense of pride. Cities lit up with holographic displays of alien ships, not as threats, but as friends. Children waved to the sky, and every corner of the world felt connected. Dr. Maria Alvarez stood on a balcony overlooking New York City. Leo, her assistant, handed her a steaming cup of tea. It's amazing, he said softly. The humans started it, but the galaxy is joining us. Can you imagine? Planets far away, sharing our laughter. Maria smiled. I never imagined it. But that is what makes humanity human. Our strength is not only in what we can do, but in how we respond. We laughed when the universe tried to scare us, and now it laughs with us. She turned to watch the night sky glowing faintly with alien lights. The Empire could have destroyed us, she whispered. Instead, it learned from us. In the capital of the Galactic Empire, the Grand Council met again. This time the atmosphere was different. Leaders who had once demanded silence now shared ideas openly, inspired by the humans' courage. They discussed new laws encouraging creativity, communication, and understanding across worlds. Laughter was celebrated, not punished. Admiral Vorn, once the most rigid officer in the galaxy, now smiled as he addressed his council. I did not believe it at first, he admitted, but I see now. Joy is not weakness. It is connection. It binds us even across the stars. Humanity has shown us a way to be better. The council murmured in agreement. Some still struggled to understand, but the sound of laughter, transmitted from thousands of worlds, was impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, young officers in the fleet discovered new ways to interact with humans and each other. Instead of rigid drills and endless reports, they created joke exchanges and story sessions. They shared experiences, showing pride in their culture while embracing the lessons of Earth. Even the soldiers who had feared laughter at first now discovered its power. Combat simulations and battles were replaced by exercises in creativity, problem-solving, and team coordination. The galaxy had learned that joy could strengthen discipline instead of weakening it. On Earth, Maria and her team worked on a new project. The Galactic Communication Network aimed to connect every planet with Earth, sharing culture, music, art, and of course humor. A child on a distant mining colony could now send a drawing to a school in Brazil. A musician on a space station could share a song with children on a jungle planet. The universe, once divided by fear, had begun to unite through laughter. Maria watched a young boy send a holographic wave to a group of aliens on a distant world. He giggled as they returned it clumsily but cheerfully. This is the future, she said quietly. It's a future where we learn from each other, where curiosity replaces fear and laughter replaces hate. Leo nodded. And it all started with a simple choice, to smile in the face of the unknown. Lord Zerath visited Earth again, this time as a guest rather than a commander. He walked among humans, observing their creativity firsthand. Children handed him drawings, artists showed him paintings, and musicians played songs inspired by the stars. He had once ruled through fear, yet now he realized the greatest power in the universe was inspiration. Maria greeted him warmly. "Hi, Commander," she said. "You've seen the galaxy change because of humans." Zerath nodded. "I have, Doctor, and I have learned more than I ever expected. Fear can command, but joy can lead. Power can rule, but laughter can guide." Maria laughed softly. "So will you teach the Empire to laugh as we do?" Zerath smiled faintly. "They already are. Not all worlds were equally accepting. Some planets, steeped in centuries of tradition, struggled with the change. But instead of conflict, humans and their allies used patience and creativity. Music, dance, and storytelling became universal languages. Alien leaders who resisted were invited to festivals, encouraged to join, and slowly experienced laughter for the first time. Even the most rigid officers discovered a new sensation: the joy of sharing, the warmth of smiles, and the surprising power it gave them. The galaxy had learned that laughter was not frivolous but essential. Years passed. Earth became a center of interstellar culture, science, and creativity. Humans traveled to distant worlds, sharing knowledge and learning new ways to live. Alien civilizations discovered the value of humor, curiosity, and friendship. Peaceful collaboration replaced fear. Trade, science, and art flourished in ways the Empire had never imagined. Lord Zerath often looked back at Earth from his ship. He was older now, but lighter in spirit. Beside him, Khaled remained loyal, always observing, always learning. Together, they had seen the transformation of an entire empire. And it had started with one thing: human laughter. One evening, Maria stood on a quiet hill outside Geneva, looking up at the stars. She felt the faint hum of distant ships in orbit, a gentle reminder of friends watching from afar. She smiled and whispered to the night. We answered with laughter, and the universe answered back. In the distance, the aurora of alien lights danced across the sky, moving in patterns almost like a smile. Children ran around, waving, while adults laughed, told stories, and shared joy freely. For the first time in galactic history, humans and aliens alike knew what it meant to be truly connected. Not by power, not by fear, but by shared laughter and hope. The galaxy was no longer a place of silence and control. It was a place alive with curiosity, creativity, and joy. Worlds once divided by suspicion now collaborated, inspired by the courage of a species that had dared to laugh when faced with overwhelming power. Lord Zerath watched the stars one last time before returning to the flagship. Khaled stood beside him. "Hi, Commander," Khaled said softly. "Do you think we will ever forget this lesson?" Zerath shook his head. "No, laughter is eternal. It is the language of life itself, and humanity taught us how to speak it." Far below on Earth, children looked up and waved. Ships across the galaxy responded in kind, and for the first time, the universe seemed to laugh along with them. In that laughter, humanity had not only survived, they had inspired a new era. A galaxy united by hope, by curiosity, and by joy. And for the first time in history, the stars themselves seemed to shine brighter, as if smiling back at the humans who had dared to answer an empire with laughter.